I don't want my life to be a Coronation Street style drama, but there's a few things I want to clear up, and it might take a couple of parts, but I'm going to clear them up, and then hopefully I'm never going to speak about any of this again publicly, because frankly it's traumatic and sad. But since I put the video out recently about my experiences with my ex that got a lot of views, I've seen that he and his girlfriend have been attacked in the Trafford Centre. I don't know the context, but obviously I don't condone that. I don't want to see him getting attacked. He's the father of my kids, despite how I feel. And she doesn't deserve it. Again, I don't know the context, but I did write on the video, karma. Probably came off as very petty, but let me elaborate on that. The reason I said that, and it was aimed at Charlie, not her, is because this has been an ongoing thing for a few years now. In all the years of him being abusive towards me and my family, we've facilitated a relationship between him and his children. I have tried to co-parent with him as best I can. And I know everyone throws the term narcissist around these days, but with Charlie, it genuinely is something pathological. Sociopathy, narcissism, I don't know. He's done tests online for sociopathy that have come back high, he's told me. So, you know, but there's only so much you can co-parent with somebody who is so reckless and a pathological liar. He had slate thrown at him by a homeless person last year, which resulted in him having his hand broken. And I even looked after him despite us being separated. He's got people threatening to burn down his house. If you just have to look all over the internet, even before I put that video out, and people are baying for his blood. And I said to him, you know, I can't control you and stop you doing these videos. GMP seemed to be okay with it. But can you at least not take them into the city centre? And what did he do? He'd always take them into the city centre, and I'd find out through them. So it got to a point where when he started attacking people in the street, not just on a moral basis, and the fact that it was triggering seeing him doing all that again to other people, but in terms of the safety of my children, I felt it necessary to cut him off, and it's happened intermittently over the last few years. But he'd always go back, he'd stop doing it and go back to doing it again and again. And it left me in the most impossible position. Part 2 coming up on this. So part 2 follow-up to the last video. One thing I do want to say is that sticking with somebody thinking they're going to change, somebody who's narcissistic, I had kind of lost hope. I was pushing him so far away. I became as reactively abusive as he had been to me in the things I was saying to him, because the love bombing, the hoovering, there's only so much you can go through that intermittent reinforcement before you realise how empty any of the promises are. And it's crazy making, it's literal crazy making. But at the beginning of this year, he was begging for his family back, saying how much he loved me, and you know, he was going to give up YouTube, he was going to change, all this. But I'd heard it all before. And then 2 weeks after that, he got with his girlfriend that he has now, and he moved her straight in. Massive red flag. She's 21, he's 42, and people are like, oh, you just better. It's not even about that. It's terrifying to see, because I was 23 when I got with him, and knowing how narcissists move, to see how quickly he's gone and moved on somebody who, this isn't even a dig, hasn't even got fully formed prefrontal cortex yet. Like, that's the part of the brain that doesn't finish developing until age 25, around age 25, which is responsible for higher cognition. She hasn't even really got, from what I know, any family or friends in Manchester, like a strong support network. It's just, from my perspective, also objectively quite scary to watch. But he triangulated her against me, showing her all the horrible things I've said to him, not ever showing her any of the stuff he said to me. He's also lied to her about the timeline of our relationship and all this stuff. And, you know, what got me, that's fair enough at the end of the day. You know, it's scary to see, but they're adults. But when my children are involved, he got the kids to lie to me about having moved her straight in and having, like, he just started seeing them again, stopped doing his violent videos, even though it's never permanent. And yeah, so I reached out to him. He was like, oh, well, so what? He doesn't see any issue with instantly introducing the kids. But what got me most of all is that my 3-year-old son said that he'd shared a bed with them. And I'm like, whoa, I know Charlie as well. And it just made me feel very uncomfortable. So I reached out to her. Part 3, unfortunately. So part 3, I reached out to her after my friend figured out who she was, as women are very good at doing, because Charlie wasn't going to tell me. And I was very direct with her, and I was like, you know, hey, I just like to know people before they share beds with my kids. Because in my books, even though he knows her, you know, that's a stranger. I've never had a stranger share a bed with my kid before. And she ignored me. And so she then went to change her picture on Instagram to a picture of Andrew Tate with the caption, "Stop stalking, honey," over it. And I'm like, wow, this is just so fucking petty. I am too old and too traumatized for this bullshit. Seriously. Like, I'm just got over one hurdle of, right, you know, Charlie's like sending me over the edge because he can't, like, not have fights on the street with people. And now this, like, I just can't cope. But then I saw on her Twitter, she was tweeting away, and I commented something, again, a little bit petty, but I wasn't nasty. Like, you mean like sharing beds with other people's kids? Like, because she was ignoring me. It is very dehumanizing. Like, it's part of that narcissistic abuse, and he kind of employed her as a flying monkey for him, which narcissists are very good at doing. She already had a terrible opinion of me because he's shown her all his side of me losing my shit after years of, you know, abuse, becoming reactively abusive. So she's already got her impression of me. She blocked me on Twitter, and then her and her sister proceeded to start bitching about me while I was blocked online, defaming my character. And her sister even tried to add me on Instagram, and she knew loads of personal details in the whereabouts of my children, because all the emails I'd been sending to Charlie, he'd been showing her, or she'd been looking at. And it's like, this is just like, I can't handle any of this. Like, it's all about my kids at the end of the day. I can handle it. It sent me over the edge, like, mentally, but I'll always bounce back. But when it comes to my kids, what the hell is going on here? And yeah, when she finally did reply to me on Facebook, she sent me a huge lengthy message really attacking my character, and then blocked me. She was accusing other accounts online of being me, that were like calling out their behavior towards me, because it was very covert but still abusive, even if he was the instigator of it. She even made fun of my autism online. I mean, not only am I autistic, I was late diagnosed at the age of 31, probably another reason I stayed so long and have such weak boundaries, but my son Leonidas is waiting to be screened for autism. I'm gonna have to do a fucking part 4. Sorry. So this has to be the final part, because I cannot talk about this anymore. It's insane. Yeah, she's been making fun of my autism. I was just getting really bad vibes. It felt like Charlie was reveling in the power it gave him over me, but also she was too, and I think he was kind of stoking that. You know, I don't know what goes on between them, but I can very much imagine, because I've been through it. But what I was trying to make as the argument here as well is that if you've known somebody a couple of weeks and introduced them to the kids, they need stability in their lives. They need some sense of normalcy. And when you've got this kind of rush dynamic, it's a recipe for disaster as it is already. And I am genuinely concerned first and foremost about my children's welfare. But it sent me insane to the point where, yes, I made threats because I couldn't cope with any more emotional abuse, and that's what it was. Covert, fair enough, but it was emotional abuse. that he and her were putting me through, and it sent me absolutely cray-cray. And I think that was the aim. That's always the aim of narcissistic abuse, is to make the other person look crazy. And you're the victim, you're the superior person, the false self that you believe in, that you want the world to believe in, is then real and validated. But I was just having a very normal human reaction, given all the background of my trauma as well, to what was going on. I just want to say, though, that since all that, we apologized to each other, and she reached out to me and shared some pretty fucking personal, heavy stuff with me. And I even said this in emails to Charlie. All the evidence for this, if you know, anybody wants to turn this into some crazy posting war, I'm not interested in doing, by the way. I'm not interested in. You know, I hope you don't put her through what you put me through. Nobody deserves to go through that, yeah? It seems like he already is. And it starts small. It's like the boiling frog analogy. Starts little, and it gets bigger and bigger. And the more vulnerable you get, the more dependent they become upon you, the more weak you're perceived to be, the worse it gets, the more control they've got, the more power they get. And it's like, when's it going to end? No, but when's it going to end? Like, I just want peace for my kids. I want my kids to have a dad, and I don't want any more animosity for no reason. But there's no peace without justice. And at the moment, my kids deserve better than what is going on right now. That's all. That's it. No, this is the final part, because I totally left out some bits that I find to be really fucking relevant and important, and it will eat away at my soul before I go to bed if I don't say it, because I want to say things now and then forever hold my peace. But another reason I found it, all this dynamic between Charlie and his girlfriend Laura, very weird, is because before I even knew that they were together, and as I said, it was all very rushed, I found loads of communication between her and my daughter on TikTok that she kept initiating. Really, like, even when my daughter was like clearly not interested in speaking to her. And in one of them, she sent this really long paragraph message about me being a good friend to her, and saying that she hopes I get well soon, and that they both had a really hard childhood, and that I could go to the doctors and get medication, and that my daughter, who is 8, by the way, well 9 now, but 8 at the time, could help me with that. It's like, no, I'm not dealing with that. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What the hell? But yeah, like, I don't want to be painted as some absolute batshit person who's just got a bee in their bonnet. It's really actually insane, and everybody that I have spoken to about it has totally agreed with me. So I'm not here to justify myself anymore, and I'm not here to slate anyone, and I don't want to air any more dirty laundry, but I will be damned if I am made out to be something that I'm not. Okay, I said it was going to be the end of it, but I'm angry. I am livid. And if there's one thing I cannot stand, it's liars and bullies and people that weaponize other people's empathy against them to play victim. This latest incident in the Trafford Centre, apparently Charlie started it because he got involved in a couple's conversation while they were with their child, started being a smart ass, as I can fully imagine. And when they turned around and saw who he was, they had a few choice words, which led Charlie to then punch the man in the face. And then his girlfriend started getting involved with his partner, to which she then obviously reacted violently after her partner's just been punched in the face. She's got a child there and she's got some girl getting in her face. But they're acting like the victims online. That's the entire basis of Charlie's channel, by the way, is that he goes around looking for conflict, begging people, please, please give me a reason to hit you. And he's done it many times, where he threw an inebriated man on the floor, cracked his head, paramedics working on him, uploaded it to YouTube. When a young girl literally just blocked his camera, he thought that was acceptable to throw her to the ground and then start berating her. GMP
why do you think that's acceptable as well? Because you let him get away with it. It's almost like you give him special treatment. I would love to hear an official statement from GMP as to why you let people who have convictions of violent assault in a domestic setting run around the public assaulting people. There is no way on God's green earth that anybody is continuously targeted as a victim of crime like Charlie is and isn't instigating it. He is always the common denominator in all these violent incidents. And as narcissists like to do, they flip between grandiose to covert. 1 minute they'll be antagonizing you, the next minute they'll be the victim. He's done it to me, he's done it to my family. The amount of times he squared up to my dad, and my dad knew exactly what his game was. He's like, I'm not punching you because that's what you want. You want to go and cry to the police like you always do. No more. I'm no lawyer, but I'm pretty sure that when you're playing victim and you're the one that's caused it and you're pressing charges against people that you victimize, that's perverting the course of justice, is it not? It's taking the absolute piss out of the justice system. Honestly, if there's one thing I will say is, karma, 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 karma's coming for your ass. Oh yes it is. Oh yes it is. And I fully hope you get everything you deserve.
So you know what gets me? Is that if a woman's enduring domestic abuse and another man were to rush in and defend her and kick the shit out of the guy, he'd be labelled a hero. But if the woman who's being victimised starts to defend herself and stand up for herself, she's labelled the problem. And another thing that gets me is that if women do come forward with their experiences of domestic abuse, if they're sad and upset when they talk about it, they're accused of trying to play the victim. But if they're angry and express it with righteous indignation, they are accused of being the aggressor. You cannot win as a woman. The idea that women don't feel shame, and men do, in domestic abuse situations is just further testament to how dehumanized women are on a societal level. And it's not just men that are guilty of this misogyny. Women are just as bad, if not worse, some of the worst misogynists out there. It's internalized as a survival mechanism. And the reason that women are treated this way, studies show, is that we are not seen as fully human. We are seen as objects. In the hierarchy of sentient beings, you've got humans at the top, then you've got animals, even though it doesn't make sense because we're animals, and I get where vegans are coming from on that. But what nobody mentions is that women are not included in the human category. We're not even included in the animal category. We are in a category below those. We're in the object category. And studies show it time and time again. Not just men, women view other women in parts, body parts. They've scanned people's brains while viewing images. And the parts of the brains that light up, it's tools. Women are seen as tools by men. The same parts of the brain that light up when men are thinking about tools. When they look at women, that's what they see. And they've scanned eyes as they've processed images, showing that it's body parts. Women are deconstructed visually in the moment into body parts. And so that's why women are afforded far less sympathy when they come forward with domestic abuse claims than even rescue animals. You see like so many videos of neglected and abused animals that are lashing out and matted in filth and fleas, and everyone's, oh, poor thing. But if a woman who's been subjected to absolute torture comes forward and shares in a very dysregulated way her experiences, or even if she shares it like, I'm quite smiley now, you know, shares it in a neutral kind of way, we are accused of being deceptive. It's the same sort of attitudes from hundreds of years ago, that women are the reason that we're no longer in the Garden of Eden. And I think it stems psychologically from the fact that women and children, on the whole, societally and in capitalism, are viewed as a burden. And capitalism, let's not forget, is a man-made invention. Women
when it was being invented, we're not allowed to work or participate in the economy or society in the same way that men were. We were at home, restricted to the kitchen and looking after children. So yeah, this is all just a prelude, by the way, to a video I'll put out later, another date, relating to some more personal issues. I've already spoken about my own experiences with domestic violence, but it's just fascinating and horrifying at the same time from a psychology point of view to see the way that women are treated, degraded, dismissed, discarded when they do speak out, especially against people who have quite a high profile. I look at what happened with Russell Brand. It went on for years. I mean, Jimmy Savile as well. People knew about it. Everybody knew about it to an extent, but because he had such a big public persona, such a massive following of people, a cult-like devotion from a substantial portion of the population, nobody wanted to face the wrath of that. Everyone just wanted to keep quiet and not seem as though they're stirring the pot. Nobody wants to be distasteful when they talk about these things. It makes people uncomfortable. I don't care. I'm past caring. These things need to be spoken about and they need to be addressed adequately. Because honestly, as a woman, no matter what you do, what you say, you will be blamed. I would like to share some advice on what to do if you're a woman walking home late at night on your own and you find yourself in a situation where you're being followed by a would-be attacker. Firstly, trust your gut. So I was walking home after getting the train back from Liverpool. I live in Manchester, about 12:30 on a Friday night, last Friday. And I'm quite a tough nut. I walk alone often at night and it does not bother me. I don't generally feel scared, I must admit, even as a woman. But on this occasion, I, for the first time ever, probably felt like I was potentially in danger. Because I don't get out on these streets much anymore, I wasn't aware that the night bus didn't run anymore and I didn't really have enough taxi money to get me all the way home. So I had a bit of a walk in store before I was going to get to a point where I was going to get a taxi and then walk the rest of the way back. Again, don't have any issue with that. Stopped, I had some cans of booze at Piccadilly Gardens, spoke to the local reprobates for a little bit, rolled a cig, and made my way down Market Street. And it was quite quiet actually, but there were still people out and about. I could hear behind me some heavy, squelchy footsteps. And I turned to look behind me, and a bit of a distance behind me, there was a man, probably about 6 foot or over, walking on his own behind me. And I could just feel in my gut that something was just a bit off. So I gave my best sort of Liam Gallagher walk. You know, I rolled my sleeves up a little bit, had me can there, trying to deter whoever it was because I could just feel they were following me. But even then, I started to pick up pace in my walk because I felt threatened. But then I realized to myself that predators, men like this, are like dogs. They smell fear and they want a chase. They want you to be prey. So I thought, what can I do in this situation? My next bit of advice then would be, as I did, was to stop. Put my bag on the floor. I was rummaging through to get my key to put between my fingers, because that's the best advice any woman can have. If you feel like you're going to be attacked, make sure you've got some form of a weapon. But I also wanted to check if he was actually following me. And by stopping and letting them walk past you, if they are just walking along innocently past you, you then have your answer. So the guy walked past me initially, but then turned and circled back and walked behind me, past me again. So obviously he was following me. Now, me being me, and generally I would say anybody in this situation should probably do the same. I turned, got up with my bag, and I very aggressively, not aggressively, but as psychotically as possible, said, "You all right there, mate?" And he turned and looked at me with a very insidious kind of smile. He looked high as fuck on God knows what. And he smiled and said, "Yeah, I'm all right. Are you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fucking good." So I made it very clear that if your intentions are to attack me, you're not going to have an easy go of it, mate. But I still felt deeply unnerved, which isn't like me, because I don't think I've ever been in a situation where somebody's followed me in such a predatory manner. So then my next final piece of advice would be, as I did, the next group of people to be walking down the street. Before I got off Market Street, by the way, that's another point, is don't go in any sort of side streets. Stay on a main strip where there's other people and it's well lit and the CCTV. The next group of people happened to be 4 guys, and I just approached them and said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I walk with you guys, because I've had some weirdo following me?" And they were totally cool with it. But yeah, for me, it was strange. You know, you hear about incidents where women are attacked, and I, again, generally have never felt scared. Even when I've been in all sorts of situations, that was the only time I actually felt like I might have been attacked, I might have been in danger. But I don't know if it's getting scarier out there for women. I don't know if it is a more hostile place for women these days, judging by public discourse and the rising levels of misogyny. Maybe it is. But yeah, I found that was a very effective way of dealing with the situation. And for any other women that might be in that position, trust your gut, stop, let them walk past you so you're not in front, so they're not in a position of power. Check if they actually are following you, and if they are, confront them. Not necessarily say, "Are you following me?" but make it known that you know what's going on. And then as soon as you can, get into a group, get into that safety of a group. So yeah, top tips.
So we live in clown world when you put a video out that gets over 50,000 views on TikTok documenting the abuse that you have endured at your ex-partner's hands, Charlie Veitch in this instance, the father of my kids. It's been taken down. Been fucking taken down. It violated community standards. It violated community standards of harassment and bullying. Somebody make that make sense, please. Please. Because it motherfucking doesn't. Luckily, I am dissociated enough to find it quite funny. Luckily, I can understand why so many people don't like the truth. But I challenge Charlie to say I'm lying. I'm going to keep saying this. I will say it until I motherfucking die. Because it's the truth. And I believe in the truth. The truth matters. He has a conviction of assault against me. He slapped my then 3-year-old son in the face. He abused me and my family for years. And that is a fact. And I'm sorry that it's hurt somebody's feelings. But I just find it incredibly interesting as well that TikTok doesn't think his content, where he quite literally bullies and harasses people in the street and assaults them, that is okay with their community standards. It's part of the social and systemic silencing of people who have been victims of abuse, because the entire system is based on abuse. And it's evidenced when shit like this happens. Socially, people say you shouldn't air your dirty laundry, but that enables abuse. If people didn't air their dirty laundry, people would still think Jimmy Savile was a good guy.